Hey everybody. Hey everybody, it's Dr. Susan Peirce Thompson, and we're live together on social media. It's YouTube, it's all the channels. Hey, it's Dr. Susan Peirce Thompson. We're talking today about weight loss drugs, about sustainable weight loss, and we have a new event that we're doing here at Brightline Eating. It's called Weight Loss Drugs and Beyond, What Really Works for Lifelong Success. And the reason we're doing this is because a lot of data have come out in the last year. So really, the data are in, and what they're showing is that weight loss drugs are not going to solve our obesity pandemic. And they're not going to solve the obesity pandemic for one major reason, which is that people are not staying on them. People are getting off them. 85% of people are off them voluntarily, just stopping the medication within 2 years. 71% are off them within 1 year. So why is that happening? I'm going to explain that. I have an answer for that. I'm going to explain that during this YouTube live. And I've created a video series called Weight Loss Drugs and Beyond, What Really Works for Lifelong Success, that explains the mechanisms of how these drugs work in the brain. I have a PhD in brain and cognitive sciences, if you're not aware. And my life's work is to teach people about the psychology and the neuroscience of truly sustainable weight loss. I developed this passion after myself going from obese to slender 22 years ago or so, 21 years ago. Yeah. And keeping that weight off now for all these years. And yeah, I take kind of a different angle on the whole weight loss phenomenon than really probably anyone you've ever heard speak before. And we're going to talk about some of those differences as well. So I'm so glad you're here. We're going to be together for a little while. And first of all, I just want to know who you are and that you're here. So post in the comments down below. Let me know where you are in the world, and especially if this is your first time live with me, I would love to hear that as well. It's really nice to meet you. And I see that Andrew is here. Yay, happy today. And Laura is a first timer. Hi, Laura. Love your little heart emoji. Hi, sweetie. Um, just a photo girl. That's a cool handle. Good morning. Norman Patel says good evening. Judy's favorites says hi. Yeah, get those comments down below, and I want to hear where in the world you are. If you're doing bright line eating, I want to hear how it's going. Have you started bright line eating? Have you done it in the past and drifted away, which we do sometimes? God knows I have, done my share of hiking through the Research Rockies. That's what I call it, hiking through the Research Rockies. It is its own particular form of insanity. They say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I agree with that. I also think that insanity is finding what really works and then deciding to stop doing it, which I've done many times. Luckily, haven't stopped for long enough to regain my weight and have done my research and come right back to what I know works. But yes, Odell is here from South Africa. Welcome, Odell. Beautiful. I'm in Durango, Colorado right now in a hotel room. Vanessa's here from Southern California. Terry's here. Hey, she says, hey, SBT. Cecilia's here from Mexico. Sonia's here. First time from Nebraska. Hi, Sonia from Nebraska. Great to meet you. Welcome. So glad you joined. Rhonda's here from Houston, Texas. Tony's here from Oregon. Karen's here from Las Vegas. It's Karen's first time from Las Vegas. Welcome, Karen. So glad you're here. And Wabawi is here, and Heidi from Atlanta. Heidi's a first timer. Welcome, Heidi. And Barb is here from Colorado. Peggy says, hi, Susan. Thanks for taking the time to make us smarter. You're welcome, Peggy. That's a funny way to put it. Although I do try to teach my kids that, intelligence is malleable. And when you learn, you do get smarter. That is actually how it works in the brain. So I love that growth mindset orientation toward the mind and the brain. And Sarah is here in Kansas City, Missouri. This is awesome. So go ahead and post comments down below and questions. A lot of our time together is going to be Q&A. So video one is now out in the series. I'm curious if you've seen it. Video one is all about the weight loss drugs. It's how they work. It's what they cost. It's what they do in the brain. It's the side effects. And there actually is some new data about side effects that's come out in the last year, including some eye-popping stuff. You can ask me more about that if you want to in the Q&A. But have you seen video one yet? Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions about Brightline Eating? Do you have any questions about this event that we're putting on? Put your questions down into the comments thread, and I'll be answering all your questions. This really is Ask Susan Anything time. I'm an open book. Feel free to ask whatever you want. Judy says, this is Judy Glick Ehrenthal, Long Island and Manhattan. I've been doing Bright Line eating since 2019. I got the golden ticket. Oh, Judy, a founding lifer way back from 2019, before we even had the golden ticket in 2021. That's beautiful, Judy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And Bobbers says, love Brightline and plan to keep doing it for the rest of my life. Thank you for sharing that. I'm with you. Me too. Laura says, I've lost 160 pounds with Brightline eating and Zepbound from Utah. Laura, I would love to talk with you more about your experience. Would you post down below, are you planning on staying with Zepbound and Brightline eating for the duration? Or are you planning to get off Zepbound? What are you thinking there? And congratulations on a 160-pound weight loss. That's stupendous. Yeah, that's just amazing. You must feel so, so different in your body and in your life and socially. That's a big difference. Have you ridden a bike again? Yeah, just yeah, thinking about you, Laura, that's amazing. Terry says, I've been a Bright Line eater for just about 6 years, and it totally works for me. I know people on weight loss drugs, so very interested to hear the deets. Aaron King says, I'm finishing up Boot Camp 2.0 this week. Congratulations, Aaron. I can't wait to welcome you into Bright Lifers. That's a tremendous accomplishment to complete the boot camp. It's very rigorous, as you know, and yeah, just a really deep dive. So congratulations on that. And Barb says she viewed video one. That's awesome. Any thoughts, comments, questions? Anna says, I am interested in the new info on weight loss drugs side effects. I used Ozempic and Trulicity before. They did zero for me, and I had very strong migraines. Bright line eating is for sure the best solution. So Anna, the new side effect that has been published is that there is a dramatic uptick in NAION in people who are on a GLP-1 medication. So NAION is, let me see if I can get this right, NAION, non-arteritic ischemic anterior neuropathy, optic neuropathy. There's an optic in there. It's basically, you know how neuropathy in the feet makes your feet numb? It's like that, but in the optic nerve. It's a numbing and it stops working in the optic nerve, and it can lead to blindness. I think initially you start to see spots, and then ultimately it can cause sudden and irreversible blindness, usually in one eye. It hits the optic nerve separately, so it doesn't typically hit both at the same time. Yeah, the specific stats on that, like the amount of increased risk, the specifics are in the weight loss drug video series that I just put out. I put those new statistics right in there. I don't have them right off the tip of my tongue, but it's a ridiculously large increase in risk. And I don't really understand why more people aren't talking about that. I remember fen-phen back in the day. My stepdad was on fen-phen when I was a teenager, and it was working for him. He was losing his weight, and then they yanked it because some people had some heart events. And I don't understand why they're not yanking these drugs because of the NAION. Like it feels like people suddenly going blind would be enough to stop it altogether. Um, but I think they don't have a randomized clinical trial yet. The data that came out were on massive data sets, like thousands and thousands and thousands of people who had obesity or who had diabetes. And amongst those thousands of people, they analyzed the NAION incidence separately among people who were on a GLP-1 or versus on some other medication for that condition, or just not on medication for that condition. And so it wasn't a clinical trial with random assignment of subjects to conditions, but it did control for other people, a comparison group of other people who had the same condition but weren't on a weight loss drug or weren't on a GLP-1. And yeah, the numbers were pretty stunning. So yeah, that's the newest side effect that's out. I mean, the other side effects that are known are the gastrointestinal side effects and pancreatitis, bowel obstruction. If you have medullary thyroid cancer in your family history, you shouldn't be on the drugs. But I mean, those are the basic side effects. Interestingly, people generally aren't getting off the drugs due to side effects. I mean, some are. 16% are on average, 16%. But like that's not that big of a number, right? It's not actually the side effects that are leading people to get off the drugs. Um, I might as well just share what's leading people to get off the drugs. What's leading people to get off the drugs is that the weight loss stops after a bit with just the drugs. And people are going on the drugs expecting a silver bullet kind of, I won't have to worry about it anymore or do anything solution. In other words, most people are not pairing the drugs with a comprehensive program like Bright Line Eating. They're taking the drugs expecting miraculous results. And at first, it does feel like they get miraculous results. But on average, people stop losing weight after 1 year and 3 months. And they haven't lost anywhere near all their weight that they want to lose. And now they plateau out, but they're still paying, right? 500 a month, 1,000 a month, whatever it is that they're paying. They're still paying hundreds of dollars every month, and they're not losing weight anymore. Hundreds of dollars every month. They're not losing weight. And then they start to regain a little bit of weight. And they regain weight because the GLP-1 receptors in the brain, they downregulate. Just like dopamine downregulation happens, receptors, when they're flooded with more of a hormone or neurotransmitter than they need or want or expect naturally, they adapt and they become less numerous, less responsive. Adaptation, it happens all throughout the body, all throughout the brain. So that adaptation starts to kick in, that downregulation kicks in, and now the receptors aren't registering the GLP-1 as much, and some weight regain happens. They're still paying, people are still paying $500 a month, $1,000 a month, whatever it is that they're paying every month, and they're regaining weight. And now it just feels unworkable. Like they're like, why am I doing this? This isn't work. Why should I be paying all this money? And so they go off the drugs. So it makes sense to me. The reality is that the drugs aren't a comprehensive solution. They need to be paired with a behavioral program like Bright Line Eating. Bright Line Eating will achieve the same results in the brain as the weight loss drugs. And that's really what I dive into in the video series is what exactly is that GLP-1 doing? What are the three different main pathways of its effect? That's what I cover in each of the video series. After the first video, which is all about just the weight loss drug profile, the side effects, the names of it, the cost, etc. Then in the next three videos, I go through the three main areas of impact of these drugs and how you can get those same effects naturally, or if you want to use a drug and pair it with something like Bright Line Eating, how you can compound your effects. So that's what I teach you in the video series. There actually is a way, and we're teaching people how to do it in Bright Line Eating to get all the same effects of those weight loss drugs without taking a drug. And yeah, weight loss drug companies don't want you to know that. And most doctors don't know that. Like they haven't seen our data. We just published an amazing study, a 6-year follow-up study in the prestigious journal Frontiers in Psychiatry, showing that 6 years out, people who are still doing Bright Line Eating are faring way better than people who are still on weight loss drugs. So yeah. Um, okay. Tony says, is video one on YouTube? How do I find it? Judy says, where is the video located? So you can't find it on YouTube. The only way to get it is to join our event, and there's a link that you can click to go to the event page and see all the videos and when they're coming out. We're going to be releasing them every couple days here over the next few days. And so in this YouTube live here, look down in the comments, right at the top of the comment feed, you should see a link. And I'll tell you what the link is to ble.life/beyond. That's what the link should say. ble.life/beyond. Um, and yeah, once you're in there, make sure to put your email address in so that you're logged into the event. That way, we'll send you an email that will remind you every time a new video comes out, hey, it's available. You can go watch it. You can always unsubscribe anytime. Um, yeah, so that's how you access the videos. They're not on YouTube. Laura is the one who lost all that weight using Zepbound. She said, yes, my life is completely different, and I would love to talk with you about it. I've started your maintenance videos, and they are unparalleled. I struggle with wanting to join one of the support groups. How do I get past that barrier? I struggle with wanting to join one of the support groups. I'm not sure actually what you mean by support groups. Do you mean the Gideon Games? Do you mean like a study buddy group, a mastermind group? Is that what you mean by one of the support groups? I'm so glad you're loving the maintenance series. For those who aren't aware, the way Bright Line Eating works is we have an introductory course called the Bright Line Eating Boot Camp. The Bright Line Eating Boot Camp 2.0, because a couple years ago we put out a whole updated, completely overhauled version of it. So it's 2.0. And that's a 10-week course. And then at the end of that 10-week course, when you graduate, not everyone graduates, boot camp is intense. Almost everyone who graduates then chooses to become a Bright Lifer, and that's an annual membership. And in Bright Lifers, you get access to our entire Bright Roadmap, which is a series of courses. And there's 3 maintenance courses in there. Maintenance 1, which is all about the deep psychology of maintenance, how to become someone who could succeed at maintenance and doesn't have the mental blocks that will actually stop you from getting there. Maintenance 2 is all about how to transition from the goal weight phase down into a maintenance phase, like literally the nuts and bolts of how do you figure out your goal weight, how do you add food to stop your weight loss, that kind of thing. And then maintenance 3 is all about how do you become really liberated from the food and the weight struggle? How do you fill your life with your big new bright life so you don't stay tinkering on the last 5 pounds and still obsessed with food and weight, even though really the problem has been solved for you? How do you actually move on? That's maintenance 3. So that's what we're talking about with those maintenance courses, and they're in Bright Lifers, which is our ongoing annual membership program. And Laura, I would love to talk with you. It sounds like you're a Bright Lifer because you have access to our maintenance courses. I'm typically on the accountability call every Sunday morning. How about you just get on the accountability call, raise your hand really fast, your digital hand on that accountability call, and we'll talk. I would love to connect with you. I would love to coach you, my dear. Um, my divine life says, I have followed for a long time, but the drugs scare me. I'm interested to hear what you have to say. My view on these weight loss drugs is very nuanced. I'm pro-choice on them. I I think the side effects, some of them are concerning, but frankly, the side effects of obesity are more concerning. So I am a fan of whatever works. And I think that the main thing about these drugs is what concerns me is that most people are using them as a diet. They're just thinking of them as a short-term fix. They're thinking they're going to get on them and then get off them. And if you're just going to get on them and get off them, why bother? That's the very definition of a diet, something that you do for a short period of time to lose weight with no intention of continuing long term, right? So my perspective is that weight loss drugs make sense if you're willing to use them as a tool to stick with bright line eating if you weren't able to stick with bright line eating on its own. Everyone that I see sticking with bright line eating is getting the results that they want without a weight loss drug. So first step would be pour your heart and soul and mind and body and effort and focus and intention into doing bright line eating completely. Come all the way in and sit all the way down, as we say. Just follow the fabulous plan and see whether you can make that work on its own. If long term you find you're not able to stick with it because the hunger and the cravings are just not resolving for you in your brain, or you get stuck in a pattern of relapse that you can't get out of, then I think a weight loss drug as a tool to help you work your bright line eating program makes a lot of sense. That's my perspective on the weight loss drugs. AHP says, I'm 1 week in and I love not having to make so many decisions. I've lost my first stubborn 3 pounds. Thank you. You're so welcome. Welcome to Bright Line Eating. I love it. Shayna says, "Hi, Susan. I'm starting Boot Camp 2.0 on Sunday. Welcome, Shayna. I'm so glad." Um, Tony Wade says, which specific drug can cause the blindness? So the condition that it causes is NAION, Naion. Um, and I believe it was the GLP-1 class of drugs, not any specific drug. The GLP-1 class of drugs. You can do a quick Google search, Tony, for GLP-1s and NAION, and find the paper itself. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it was just GLP-1s in general. So that would include Ozempic, Wegovy, tirzepatide, Zepbound, all of that. Um, Lisa had the same question, but yes, I believe it was GLP-1s in general. Anne says, how different is the new program from the book? Um, Pretty different, I would say. I mean, I always say that the boot camp is as different from the book as watching a Disney movie is different from going to Disneyland, right? It's a completely different experience. The book is very academic at first, and then it gives you a sketch of the program in the second half, but it does not walk you through the experience of setting up the program, nor the thing that the book completely doesn't help with at all is the support piece, which is 1/3 of the three-legged stool that makes this program. This program is about food, habits, and support. And you learn about the food and the habits in the book, but you don't get your hand held in terms of setting it up. And then you don't get any help with support, which leaves you out in the cold. So, yeah, the boot camp is pretty different. It's pretty different. I remember when we created boot camp original, like 1.0, we didn't call it 1.0 because it was the first one. We just called it the boot camp. I really looked carefully, and we had only been able to put 40% of that original boot camp into the book, Bright Line Eating. 40%. So 60% of the boot camp didn't make it into the book. The book would have been, 800 pages. And now that we've revamped boot camp, I would say that probably far less, like 25% of Boot Camp 2.0 is in the book. So most of it's not in there. All right, CM Smith says, I am back after successful completion of boot camp in 2017. Boot camp 2.0 is awesome. Question. Sometimes I need a sleep aid, and I found that THC gummies are very helpful, but they contain a sweetener. What do you suggest? Um, Personally, I'd be looking at other options for sleep assistance. I'd be looking at circadian rhythm support, and in particular, light exposure. Even individual photons of light at the wrong time of night can mess with your sleep. So you might be someone who needs to be wearing blue light blocking glasses after the sun goes down. But definitely those gummies, the sweetener in those gummies is a no-go. If you really, really feel like THC is what you need to sleep, then what about like a vape pen? Or there's other modes of administration of THC that don't have sugar or sweetener. Blue Skies says, I've released 70 pounds with Brightline eating back in 2017 or 18 as a meat eater. I strayed from Brightline eating and have regained all the weight. Now I'm primarily plant-based. Does Brightline eating now support 100% plant-based? I'm not wanting to use a GLP-1. Blue Skies, we have always, always, always supported people in being 100% plant-based from the beginning. And when you get back into Boot Camp 2.0, what you'll find is that the food plan that you get has separate protein tables for meat and dairy and 100% plant-based. And all you have to do is ignore the meat and dairy table and just look at all of the dozens of options of 100% plant-based protein options that you get. Absolutely easy peasy lemon squeezy. Really couldn't be easier. Welcome back. I'm so glad you're back. Laura, the one who's on Zepbound, and I believe it was 160 pounds that you've released. and doing Bright Line Eating, says, my doctor definitely knows about you, Susan, and Bright Line Eating. The accountability call sounds great. Not this Sunday, but I'll put it on my calendar for the following Sunday. Laura, I am thinking about you, my dear. Let me just double check my calendar and make sure that I'm not out of town. I don't think I am. We'd be talking about Sunday, June 22nd. Get your digital hand up super fast, but I'm even putting you into my phone. Call on Laura. Boom. I will see you then, my dear. I will see you then. I'm looking forward to it. And that's great that your doctor knows about Bright Line Eating. We have a physician's referral program where physicians can refer their patients to Bright Line Eating. Yeah, so you might want to, we did a vlog about that not that long ago. You could go to brightlineeating.com and click on vlog and then search for doctors or physicians or something. And that vlog, recent vlog would come up and that has the link to all the information. Sylvia Fernandez says, I'm coming back to Bright Line Eating after getting a cancer diagnosis. Mwah. I'm ready to come all the way in. I've been on Mounjaro for 2 years and I haven't lost any weight. I'm hoping that Bright Line Eating will help me. It'll help, Sylvia. Welcome back. Welcome back, my dear. And this orientation that you have of I'm ready to just really surrender to this program, that's what's needed, my dear. That's the missing X factor. We can't give that to people. The willingness to really surrender to this program. I'm so glad that you have that. And just wishing you all the luck for a speedy healing to your cancer. Speedy, speedy healing. Karen Sage says, Susan, how does a full-blown addict, susceptibility score 10, just turn on a dime and successfully follow any weight loss program? How does one get through those early weeks of breaking the addiction? Karen, um, ironically, sometimes it's actually easier if you're a full-blown food addict. I know that sounds counterintuitive. Don't get me wrong, the early days can be very, very hard, but when you know that your goose is cooked, right? When you know your life is on the line and the jig is up, sometimes that can really help with the surrender. And the way you do it is by diving into the boot camp. Join the cohort that's coming up. We've got, registration will be opening in just a few days, like less than a week for Boot Camp 2.0 for a cohort, which is the best way to do it in a cohort. And really, really use the community. That's how you get through the first days and weeks. You really lean into the community. So take us up on the offer to join a study buddy group to go through the boot camp together. Post in the online community every day and start to meet people who are successful with Bright Line Eating. Call them on the phone, make connections, get a buddy. Like really, really do it, sweetheart, and you will be carried by this program. You will make it through. Okay. Da 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 da. Just a photo girl says, do you know when we will find out about the scholarship winners? I applied and I'm excited. So we answered you in the comments, but just to say, all the scholarship recipients were notified. If you got a scholarship, you would already know. If you didn't get one, you got sent an email last Friday afternoon that you didn't get a scholarship. If you aren't sure one way or the other, you can contact support if you want to confirm, ble.life/support. Yeah, so that's the situation there. Um, will it be possible to watch this live as a recording later on? Benedicti wants to know. And yes, it will be on the Bright Line Eating YouTube page. You can find this recording. Brenda Wold says, did great using Bright Line Eating 3 years ago and fell off track. What is the best first step for getting back on track? Brenda, it's to really tune in to this event that we're doing, Beyond Weight Loss Drugs. Get reminded of all the ways that Bright Line Eating will help you to lose weight just like weight loss drugs, but without the side effects, without the cost. Learn again how the brain works when it comes to weight loss, and then join the cohort of people that are going through Boot Camp 2.0 coming up. Registration is going to open in just a few days. So watch the videos. So look at the link that's, well, I'm pointing up, but it might be below me. There's a link, ble.life nutritional.com/beyond. Look at that. It's in the comments. Click there and then bookmark that page so that you can come back to the event page over and over again as we go through these next 10 days. And yeah, join the boot camp. That's the way to get back on track. Do it with a cohort. I think the number one mistake I see people making is not prioritizing the other two legs of the stool. Food is just one leg of the stool. There's habits and support, and you need all three legs of the stool to be equally strong to have your foundation, right? To be able to sit on that stool. Otherwise, you're just going to fall off. So, yeah, really focus on support. Really join the boot camp. Um, Heidi says, is there a particular fruit to stay away from when transitioning from sugar? Um, in bright line eating, all whole real fruit works. Not fruit juice, not dried fruit, but all whole real fresh fruit. That said, if you're having pineapple every day, I'd take a look at that. It's pretty sweet, right? I'd be prioritizing apples and berries, pears, things like that. But within reason, no fruit is off limits. No fruit is off limits. Those are my thoughts. I would just say, just take it, be gentle and curious with yourself. Like if you need pineapple every day, that's maybe a little bit of a red flag. Tony Wade says, celebrating 33 years in AA on Saturday. BLE encompasses all my addictions, unlike AA that's dismissive about food addiction. I've stepped back from AA. Do you know of others who've done this? It's a little scary. Um, I do. I do. Well, yeah, I do actually. If you read the F.A. Gray book, which is the equivalent of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, people have their stories in there, and you'll see there's people in there who talk about going from AA and then getting into FA and finding that it works better for them to primarily work one program. Bright line eating is a comprehensive solution. And Tony, I know you've been instrumental in starting 12-step meetings within the Bright Lifers Fellowship, right? And for those who aren't in Bright Lifers yet, you'll get into Bright Lifers after you complete the boot camp. But we have meetups in Bright Lifers, and those meetup groups are founded by Bright Lifers for Bright Lifers. They're peer led, and we have some 12-step meetings in there. And Tony started a bunch of them. And from my perspective, I think that it can feel more helpful to be working one program. I know that Jack Kornfield, who is a celebrated spiritual teacher, in his amazing book called A Path with Heart, he's got a chapter called Pick the One Seat. And what he says is there's so many paths up the mountain when it comes to personal growth, spiritual experience, however you want to frame it, recovery, whatever you want to call it. But in order to really ascend a mountain, you have to be on a path. Like if you're jutting from this path to that path to this path to that path, you don't ascend very far. The way to ascend is to really stay on a path. Pick the one seat. And that's how you go very deep with your growth. So yeah, I mean, I don't imagine that there's any need to be definitive or extreme, right? To say, I'm never going back to an AA meeting. But I do think that being firmly grounded in one program, such that you do 100% of that program, you really do it, is very helpful. So those are my thoughts. Congratulations on your 33 years in AA, 33 years of sobriety. And Judy Cruiser says, I am 45 years sober. I was told by OA I was chewing my booze, and this is so true. It is true, right? I mean, I'm sober as well. I'm 30 years sober, and my drug of choice just jumped right over to food. Absolutely. I was using. I was using. I wasn't eating. I was using when I was binging like that. Absolutely. So go ahead and get more questions into the comment thread down below. This is a rare opportunity to ask Susan anything. I'm absolutely here to answer any questions you've got. The way it's going to work is we will have two more of these live YouTube lives throughout our event time together. And there will be four videos being released, and then a fifth video that explains all about the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp. There's also going to be a live webinar and a live Q&A session. So there will be other opportunities to ask your questions, but no time like the present. I'm absolutely here for you for another little bit. Yeah, if you have any questions, get them into the comment thread. Um, Tony Wade says, thanks so much, Susan, and thanks for the book recommendations. You're welcome, Tony. You're welcome. Um, All right, Holly Hale is here in the live comments. We have amazing before and afters of her on our success stories on our Bright Line Eating website. She says, Holly Hale here from Wisconsin. I've been with Bright Line Eating for 6 years and I just declared maintenance. I've lost 130 pounds without weight loss meds. Holly, so good to see you here, my dear. Your pictures are astounding. Your transformation is amazing. Congratulations on that 130 pounds. Give us give us what are your top non-scale victories? In Bright Line Eating, everyone, we talk about non-scale victories because it's about so much more than the number on the bathroom scale, right? Holly's lost 130 pounds, and I promise you that the pant size is not the biggest standout feature of that transformation. Holly, what are some of your biggest non-scale victories? The things as you reflect right now that you're so grateful for that have changed for you over these last 6 years? I would love to hear. CM Smith says, Cindy here again, loving the parts work and realizing I have a very vocal isolator, dipping my toe very slowly into your online community. Cindy, that's such a beautiful awareness. And I'm guessing you've probably identified as an introvert in your life. Is that right? Um, I see that so often as a justification for what actually is isolation. And it can be so tricky to distinguish because introversion is a real thing. And absolutely, some people need a lot of alone time to recharge their battery. But also at the same time, there can be a part of us that's keeping us from needed interaction, needed friendship, needed community, needed connection, and it can be keeping us from that out of past wounding of rejection in school. I remember for me, school was such a rejecting place. Like I did not have friends as a little kid. Um, I mean, I had a couple friends here and there, but there were years when I did not have any friends to speak of. And I was, in psychological terms, I was a rejected child. Like from my classmates, I was actively rejected and I was not welcomed into any groups, which was very, very painful. And many of us have experienced rejections like that. And it can feel so much safer to not venture out into social situations where we would risk that kind of rejection again. Anyway, I don't know if that's what's going on with you, CM, but that certainly was my story. And learning the difference between healthy alone time that recharges us and isolation, which is really where we're cutting ourselves off from support when we're struggling, when we really could use some support, can be really helpful to learn the difference. And I'm just so excited that you're doing that parts work and that you're dipping your toe into some connection in the Bright Line Eating community. So, so good. Um, Sonia La Guerra Loca Alamia says, I want to join the Bootcamp 2.0. How can I sign up? Sonia, the sign up registration for this bootcamp will be starting in like 4 days, I think. Let me just check. As soon as that fifth video gets released, let me just see when. Monday, Monday the 16th. So, Sonia, what you want to do is click on the link from this YouTube Live, right? That says ble.life menopause.com/beyond. Click on that link. You should be able to find it as the top comment in the thread. Click on that link and then bookmark it so you can return to it again and again. Watch the videos as they come out. They'll be coming out on average just about one a day over the next few days. And then on Monday, registration will begin and registration will be open for several days. So make sure you grab your spot in the boot camp. Registration will open on Monday. So yeah, that's how you sign up. Sylvia says, is this program guaranteed to get rid of menopause weight? The scale won't budge. Nothing else has helped. Sylvia, let me just go ahead and show you some research that we did on this. This is a study that we published several years ago with, I believe it was 4,509 participants. 4,509 participants. Let me share my screen. And what you can see here is amongst the 4,509 participants who did the boot camp, you can see the average pounds released was about 13 pounds. And what you can see is that there was no significant difference, tiny differences, but nothing statistically significant between people in their 20s and 30s, all the way up to very much postmenopausal. And what this shows is that when you stop eating sugar and flour, like Bright Line Eating teaches, when you adopt our method of eating, what happens is the menopausal factor gets eliminated. Like it's not a problem anymore. And the reason that it's not an issue is that really what being younger helps with when it comes to weight loss is that the younger you are, the more estrogen you have. And postmenopausally, estrogen drops really, really low. This is true in men as well. Menopause is a thing. Estrogens are a class of hormones. Women and men both have them. And one of the things that estrogen does is it facilitates the effectiveness of insulin. And insulin is a fat storage and fat release hormone. So if you're going to be messing with your blood sugar and requiring a lot of your insulin, it's really going to be a problem if you don't have that estrogen on board anymore. But as soon as you stop messing with your blood sugar by stopping eating sugar, flour, and ultra processed foods, all of a sudden the way we teach you to eat causes naturally stable blood sugar. You're not relying on your insulin so much. It stops mattering whether you have estrogen on board to help your insulin or not. It levels the playing field, and suddenly people who are postmenopausal are losing weight just fine on Bright Line Eating. So yeah, the data show that with the age that you're at, Sylvia, Bright Line Eating is the program to do for sure. All right, Holly Hale got back to us with what she's loving about having lost her 130 pounds. And she says, here's the big non-scale victories that I'm celebrating. Being able to cross my legs, so fun. Getting off all my meds. No more chronic bronchitis, no more high cholesterol, no more high blood pressure, no more asthma, no steroids or inhalers, no more depression meds, no more pressure diabetes. I can walk and it doesn't hurt. It's so, so doable. Oh, Holly, thank you for sharing that. That is amazing. That's a lot of physical change there. That is, I'm just celebrating you. Celebrating you, Holly Hale. So good to see you here. So sweet. So sweet. Um, okay, Sonia La Guerra Loca Alamia says, she's replying about wanting to sign up for boot camp right now. She says, thank you so much. I have the website bookmarked and my calendar is marked also. Thank you. Sonia, you are so welcome. I cannot wait to welcome you into Boot Camp 2.0. It's awesome. Brenda Wold says, have you heard of or have thoughts about red light therapy and red light therapy bed plus vibe with regenerative therapies? Yeah, red light therapy is a thing. We have one of those red light therapy beds. I don't know if it's exactly the one you're talking about, but it's almost like a big sleeping bag that you zip yourself up into. I use it. Red light therapy is amazing. And the research that I trust on this is from Ari Whitten. He's got a book out on the science behind red light therapy. And that's what I would recommend you look at. It's very, very legit. very legit. Aaron King says, I need to have a menthol cough drop each night before I put my CPAP mask on. I have such congestion. Is there a no sugar, no sweetener one to use? I see the cough drops as my medicine. Aaron, I relate to this. Um, I do. Sometimes when I'm about to shoot videos, my voice will just crack and like not be okay, and I need some menthol in my throat as medicine. Um, I've looked high and low. I can't find any way to get menthol without a cough drop that has some sweetener in it. What I use is Hall's sugar free. It's got artificial sweetener in it, but um the just be aware the knockoff ones at the drugstore that aren't actually Hall's brand use a different type of artificial sweetener, the kind that causes anal leakage. It literally just like messes with your GI tract and loosens your stools, and suddenly you have diarrhea. It's awful. So the Hall's one has the better artificial sweetener. And I'm just very careful about them. I use them medicinally and I don't let it escalate. Um, the reason Halls is that if you look at the amount of menthol, it's like way bigger than a lot of the other cough drops have. I mean, it's, 4 times as much menthol or something. So those are the ones I use. Yeah, if anyone out there finds a way to get menthol without any kind of sweetener, let me know because I've been looking. I haven't been able to find anything. Laura says, do people that sustain the weight loss to become coaches and mentors and etc. maybe have an Instagram page to keep them accountable? Is that a good approach? I think that can be helpful. I think that some people have used that to their benefit, absolutely, to really build a following of community of like, here's me posting what I'm eating and that I'm still sticking with bright line eating. Yeah, I think that can be very helpful. Judy says, can you tell us your research on the difference of each drugs? Yeah, so the main differences that I'm aware of are you've got two big classes of drugs right now. You've got the semaglutide drugs, which are GLP-1 only, and the brand names for those in the United States are Ozempic and Wegovy. Ozempic is prescribed for diabetes, and Wegovy is prescribed for weight loss. And then you've got the tirzepatide drugs. Mounjaro and Zepbound are the brand names for that. Mounjaro is for diabetes and Zepbound is for weight loss. And um, of those, I would recommend the tirzepatides more. There's greater weight loss on them on average and fewer side effects on average. The difference is that the tirzepatides have two main hormones that are psychoactive, GLP-1 and GIP, and the combination seems to be more effective. Um, yeah, when I say fewer side effects, I mean typically fewer gastrointestinal side effects. The GI side effects seem to be worse on the Wegovy, the Ozempic. Um, Benedicti says non-scale victory is not feeling like hiding from the camera every time someone wants to take a picture. Yeah, totally. Question, do you have a red light panel? I would like one for my daughter for scar healing after an operation. If you have a brand recommendation for a good one, I would appreciate it. We do have a red light panel. It's pretty old. I don't know what brand it is. I'm not home right now, so I can't check. But it's so old that I wouldn't necessarily know to recommend it. I would say go on Amazon and just look at the reviews and stuff. And look at Ari Witten's book on red light therapy because he probably gives some recommendations for specifications and stuff to look for, right? So that's what I would recommend. Michael Weitzman says, I started Bright Line Eating January 6th of 2025. I've lost an average of 10 pounds per month, 45 pounds, 15 to 20 to go. I haven't heard from many men. How do men fare on Bright Line Eating? Thank you for this food plan. So, Michael, men fare great. They are a very small percentage of our overall population, but they're a small but mighty group. And Tony Wade is here watching, or he was a little bit ago at least. And He has been a member and also has a group of men that support each other. So you could reach out to him. Yeah, men do great on bright line eating. I feel like bright line eating as an approach, the core of the program is very young or masculine, right? It's don't eat that stuff. No sugar, no flour. Just the whole concept of bright lines is very masculine. Boot camp, it's very masculine, right? Now we bubble wrap that in a lot of feminine style love and compassion and oogie goodiness, but and maybe that turns off a lot of men. I'm not sure. I'm obviously female. I think like attracts like, but men tend to do great on the program. Um, Terry Ann Hormer says, please comment on the difference in susceptibility scores. In our group, one is a 3 and others are a 10 plus. So much love between all of us. Yeah, so Terry Ann, um, the food addiction susceptibility score says basically how prone are you to losing control once you start to eat, and how prone are you to developing intense cravings and obsession afterwards once you have some addictive food in your system. How much is it likely to escalate for you and become like a runaway train, right? If you're a 3 on the scale, it's not going to run away with you as much. You have more of a natural fullness or satiety mechanism still intact, where when you eat food, you actually get full. People who are 10 plus on the scale often don't actually get full. Um, so where that comes into play is that a 3 down the road likely can build in some exceptions into their program and not suffer dire consequences from it. Although I have heard people who are lower on the scale, like a 3, um, a lot of them say that it doesn't work for them to build in exceptions long term, that they really do better when they just stick with their plan. I guess the difference is in the degree of how dire it gets if someone deviates, right? If someone's a 10 plus plus, it can get very dark and very desperate with massive binges, lots of spiraling out of control, and a real difficulty getting back on track. So I have designed Bright Line Eating catering more toward the brains of people who are very high on the food addiction susceptibility scale. That's just the way I've designed it. And I trust that people who are lower on the scale will have to work their program in a way that works for them, factoring in that I'm not tailoring the materials to them. I'm tailoring the materials to the people who are very high on the food addiction susceptibility scale. Um, I personally think that susceptibility score more than weight dictates what makes some of us more similar to each other in terms of experience. So, for example, someone who comes into bright line eating with 10 pounds to lose, but is a 10 plus 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 on the food addiction susceptibility scale. And you might say, well, how is that possible? Wouldn't they have more weight to lose if they were that high on the scale? It's like, no, maybe they just have a really strong metabolism, and maybe they run 10 miles every day while they're obsessing nonstop about the half a cup of non-fat frozen yogurt they're going to allow themselves to eat after their 10-mile run. So they manage their weight, but every now and then they completely lose control of food and binge their brains out, but maybe then they throw it all up, right? And that type of mental um, obsession, I think, makes that person more similar to someone who's 400 pounds and is a 10 plus plus on the susceptibility scale. And I think that someone who's 400 pounds, but a 3 on the scale, and those people do exist, uh, has more in common with other 3s. I think that food addiction susceptibility is really what what makes some of us have a lot in common. But of course, we're human, right? So then there's all the other ways that people have things in common. Maybe they knit, maybe they love horses, maybe they whatever, right? So there typically tends to be a lot of love between us in bright line eating. It's a great question, Terry. Tony Wade was mentioning for Michael's benefit that there's a men's Marco Polo group, uh, and and men's meetings and women's meetings in the meetup groups. Yeah, and he says, generally speaking, though, a bright line eater is a bright line eater. Sweet. AHP says, as a newbie, I'm wondering, can I swap my breakfast and dinner portions, i.e., breakfast as a big salad with protein, and then one grain, one fruit, and one protein at dinner? I would be okay with you doing this if you did it that way always. So the challenge with that would be that typically when you go out to eat, it's going to be harder to get a big salad at breakfast and it's going to be harder to get a fruit at dinner. So it will make eating out harder for the long term. Um, but what's important is that you stay consistent with a food plan day in and day out and you not be swapping it around all the time. So as long as you have a food plan that you're going to stick with, I'm okay with that. Julie Morris says, hi, I did Boot Camp 2.0 last June and lost 35 pounds. I've slipped a little, but I'm back on and doing it again in June. Thank you so much. If I don't prep and plan, I fail. Interestingly, I did not get sick one time while I was 100% bright, but I got sick since I introduced NMF again. I'm a school teacher, so it was pretty remarkable. Thanks for sharing, Julie. Congratulations for getting back on track. And yeah, not getting sick is a pretty big deal, right? When you're a school teacher, that's awesome. Welcome back. Odell says, I've been on Ozempic since November of 2024. I've only lost about 12 kilos. Emotionally, I struggle to make serious commitments currently, obviously withholding me from jumping into bright line eating. I'm frustrated with myself. Oh, Odell, well, maybe just keep showing up to this live event, right? You're here right now, which is an action that you've taken that signifies that a part of you, at least, is really looking for some change. So I would say just be gentle with yourself and curious and open-minded and just keep showing up to the events that we're doing here and see what happens. See what happens. Um, Sylvia Fernandez says, one more thing. I have dawn phenomenon. Having fruit and grain in the morning is a bit much for my blood sugar as I have type 2 diabetes. Can I have my grain at another meal instead? Your earlier comment, I'm coming back to bright line eating after getting a cancer diagnosis, and I'm ready to come all the way in and sit all the way down. Um, so, um, Okay, so the dawn phenomenon, for those who don't know, is a natural rise in blood sugar levels that occurs in the early morning hours, typically between 3 a.m. and 8 a.m. Yeah, I would say move that grain to a different meal and probably put 6 ounces, maybe move the grain to lunch and put 6 ounces of cooked vegetables from lunch down to breakfast and have it as 6 ounces of cooked greens like spinach or chard or kale. That would be incredibly helpful for your system. Um, Vanessa says, do you have any research or data on people using weight loss drugs in combination with bright line eating versus bright line eating alone, short-term and long-term success? We do not have that data yet, but I'm hoping that we will soon. We do not have that data yet, but we just haven't had big enough numbers yet to collect that data, but we are starting to collect that data. That would be great. Dr. Sarah Zaldivar says, I love your content, Dr. Thompson. So glad. Thank you, Sarah. Laura Chase says 6 months successfully in bright line eating, down 75 pounds since September. Congratulations, Laura. That's awesome. Peggy says, I've been living my bright line eating lifestyle for over 8 years, and I'm happy about it every day. And last comment, Benedicti says, BLE is the only system that works well for me. I'm so glad I found you before I started messing around with weight loss drugs. I lost 52 kilos, 114 pounds since January 19th, and I plan to do bright line eating for life. Thank you, Susan. You're so welcome. Congratulations. That is stellar. That's astounding. All right, everybody, what's coming up next is we've got videos being released every couple of days now. Video 1 is out now. Video 2 is coming out in a couple days. And then videos 3 and 4 the days after that. And we're doing a live webinar, which I'm really looking forward to in this Weight Loss Drugs and Beyond video series. We also are having a live webinar, which is going to be June 17th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure that you click on the link for this YouTube Live, ble.life/beyond. Click on that link and bookmark that page because everything you need is there, and put your email address in so that you are opted in to the event, meaning we will send you email notifications when a new video drops and becomes released. We will send you an email. We never use your email for anything other than just giving you the information that you've requested. If you don't like getting it, you can unsubscribe at any time, but put your email address into the box on that event page and get subscribed to the event. Oh, so sweet being with you this morning. Thanks for all your great questions. I love you so much. Super sweet to be with you. Welcome to our big event, Weight Loss Drugs and Beyond, what really works for lifelong success. Bye, everyone.